If you're watching this, you're most likely an overthinker. And I know what it's like because I've probably been in this club longer than you. Maybe, maybe not. But regardless, in this video, I'm going to show you a way, and a very stupid analogy, on how to combat this horrible plague that is overthinking and that just takes over the mental health of so many people. All right? So if you don't know who I am, my name is Max, and I'm on a mission to help regular guys just like you and me improve their lives and build their dream life without burning out and actually enjoying the process. So if you're tired of the regurgitated guru self-improvement hustle culture advice that basically makes you feel like you're constantly behind in life and you want something more practical that actually works, consider subscribing. This is the place for you. All right, let's get into it. So first thing I need to tell you is that you need to normalize overthinking. All right, this is something that's never going to go away. It's always going to be a part of your life, and you need to accept it with open arms. All right, what I'm going to tell you in this video is going to help you in those situations. It may make overthinking less frequent, but you need to understand that you are human with emotions and feelings and thoughts, and it will happen. So just prepare yourself for when it does. All right, the second thing I'm going to say is we need to understand the source of this overthinking. All right, and the source of overthinking is one thing, and that is your deepest insecurities. It is whatever you are insecure about the most in your life are the things that you overthink the most about. All right, so for example, if you're a guy who doesn't have much relationship experience and you're a guy who has had not the greatest luck with women, well, you're going to overthink mostly a lot when it comes to women. And that can trace back to, a lot of different roots, but that's just an example. All right. But this is something I want to drive home. Your overthinking is 90% never going to manifest into reality. Okay. 90% of your overthinking is not real. That will never happen, and it is not reality, okay? But the 10% that does, that's actually intuition, right? That 10% that your gut feeling, that's intuition, all right? But you overthinking and jumping the worst case scenario, that's just driving yourself crazy. 90% of the time, that shit's false, okay? So with that out of the way, I want to give you the stupid analogy that I mentioned earlier, okay? I want you to think back to when you were a kid and you were grounded. This will make sense in a minute, but when you were grounded, and if you didn't get grounded, then did you really have a childhood? I mean, come on. When you're grounded, you don't have access to your games or TV. You can't really go hang out with friends. You're kind of stuck inside the house, and you are forced to reflect on what you did wrong and be bored for God knows how long, right? But with that boredom comes something interesting. You end up being so bored that you have no choice but to pick up some sort of activity or task that you would have had no interest in otherwise. For example, reading a book, writing, whether it's like writing a poem or just journaling, playing a musical instrument, or drawing art. Because when I was a kid, I know that I played music and I read books, and I did all the above when I was grounded because I had no choice. I was alone with my thoughts, and I had to put this energy somewhere. Okay, that's where this analogy comes from. All right, you started in getting grounded in a low state of mind, angry, frustrated, upset, right? But then you come out of it technically in a better spot than when you started because you picked up some activity that used your brain power and creativity, and you immersed yourself in it. Okay, I want you to think of overthinking the same way. Okay, because energy cannot be created or destroyed, or whatever chemistry class said, right? So it needs to be transferred. So this negative energy that you're in your overthinking and thoughts needs to be transferred somewhere in order for it to not be in your head. So if you were grounded, what would you do? Go for a walk, read a book, draw, write, pick up a musical instrument, something of that sort. So a creative endeavor or something that can just refresh your mind is the antidote. That's it. So the negative energy that you're feeling, if you could write that into words, or you can read a book and somehow find a connection, if you can transfer it into a piece of music, if you can go on a walk and just think about it and be able to reflect, that's how you do it. That's how you beat overthinking. That's how I have beat overthinking. And it's really just, it's so stupid, but it works. And so I want you to, whatever you're overthinking, this is what you're gonna do, okay? This is your action step. When you start overthinking, the first thing I want you to do is to assume the opposite, okay? If you're overthinking about a certain situation, you're gonna assume the best case scenario. And after you do that, you're gonna immerse yourself in one of those tasks, in something that, uses your brain power and forces you to be creative in some way. Because anytime I have been overthinking and feeling this low state of mind, these low vibrations, I have assumed best case scenario and started playing guitar, started reading, started writing, and I forgot about it. And guess what? The best case scenario happened. I actually got to experience the more positive side of it. You know why? Because your thoughts really do create reality, bro. I'm telling you right now. I'm not like a spiritual woo guy, but think about it this way. Your thoughts make you feel things, right? Those feelings and your emotions, they'll make you do things, take certain actions, right? Those actions will give you results, and those results will reinforce those thoughts and those beliefs that lead into feelings, actions, results, and it's a cycle, right? And if you assume best case scenario and you just delude yourself into it, you're going to feel better about it, which will make you feel like taking the correct course of action, which will lead you to the desired result. And that's a whole different video on itself, but I'm pretty sure you can understand where I'm going with this, is that you need to assume the best for yourself. You are so quick to assume the worst constantly. And it's something that, needs to be worked on. Everybody can work on that, right? But if you can assume the worst, then you can safely assume the best too, right? If you're gonna overthink about negative things, overthink about positive things, because they're two sides of the same coin. You can do both, So action step is to replace the negative thought with the opposite, with the positive thought, and then immerse yourself in said task that we had mentioned earlier, or anything else that you would like to do that is within that realm of creativity and brain power. Because I'm telling you right now, this will solve 90% of the overthinking that you have. It will, because it did for me. I'm telling you, I used to be the guy who would jump to worst case scenario and his entire day would be ruined because of it. I know what it feels like, bro, I'm telling you. So from somebody who has felt these feelings before and been there, take this really stupid but simple piece of advice and use it. It will help you. I can promise you that much, all right? So with all that being said, thanks for watching through the end of the video. And if you want a simple guide on how to stop self-improving and start self-fulfilling, link in the description. It'll definitely help you out. 4 simple steps to get your life on track, all right? So if you guys are interested, check that in the description. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.